Okay, it is past 4 o'clock and I started before noon, or just before noon, I think. So I am going to make this the last one because I do have many other things to do. This is the final lecture on Lear, and at the end of this lecture will be your question or quiz. The behavior of Lear towards his daughters is indicative of the fact that he is willing to compromise them utterly, right? Even his favorite child. He's willing to destroy their citizenship in the world of the play as viable female subjects, because they are unwilling to continue to defer to him as they perhaps perforce had to when they were younger or before he had separated, divided up the kingdom. So I return to that question with which we began our discussions of the play. What is the bond that a parent has to the child? What does the parent owe the child? What does the child owe the parent? Is there a way in which forgiveness is the default setting, or should be the default setting, for one of the two, parent and child or children? Or is forgiveness, in that absolute sense, an impossibility, a dream, just like the unconditional love that in modernity we have constructed as being part of the nuclear family unit, with parents, at least in narrative, popular narrative, being presented as those that love unconditionally their children. What exactly is Lear, the play, doing to these narratives, or with these narratives? And where does this leave us in the context of thinking about characters deserving what comes to them, and thinking about characters getting what they simply don't deserve? Of course, a lot of people would say Cordelia does not deserve the fate that is dished out to her at the end of Act 1, Scene 1, and of course at the end of the play. She does not deserve any of this. She was innocent, she was truthful. That she has to die is a crisis of the future, right? That truth cannot be protected, innocence cannot be upheld. But Goneril and Regan also die, and they aren't mourned by anybody, right? And the productivity that these women have is not only accursed, right? Like the potential that they have to produce is also given a sort of rank role offered to us as a disgusting thing, right? And then in the mad scenes where Lear is thinking of the women belly down or waist down as centaurs, he is making monstrous his own productions, right? Is this a man who will simply not want to see a future because he cannot choreograph it the way he wants? Or is it something more general about the future that leaves him, but also other people of varying generations, including Edgar, including Edmund? Is the future itself such a problematic concept that the play and its characters refuse to give it access. That's something that we really have to consider. And is that what makes this play the most problematic? I have suggested at the very beginning of the first lecture that this is what I find to be the most troubling, but also the most gripping aspect of the play, that in it, the future is a sort of null and void temporal zone. Right? The past and the present are all that are left for us to play with, if you will. The future that is alluded to at the very end of the play by Albany or by Edgar, depending on how you want to look at those last lines in the quarto or the folio. It's a future which is bereft of meaning, right? It is also a future that is bereft of possibility, because we don't have anybody who's going to produce this future, right? No female bodies are left alive. Yeah, so what does this indicate? Is that the tragedy that, I mean, of course, there are many people who say, of course, the tragedy is that, the world is turned upside down, child dies before father. Multiple children have died before their fathers, right? In this play. And Cordelia is, of course, the most precious one, who dies before Lear does, and Lear cannot save her. He has already said that repentance is coming too late, so we know that nothing that he does is going to correct or amend the situation. But my question to you, and this is what I would like you to consider as you think about your answer in response to the quiz. I will frame the quiz question just immediately after this. But as you think about this, consider what is the greatest component of this play's tragedy? Right? What is causing the tragedy to be excessive? That's something which I think you can address in the formal quiz. The formal quiz question is this. Based on the quiz prompt, okay. Based on my discussion of Goneril and Regan and their relationship to their parent, think of another parent-child dynamic in this play. It could be Cordelia and Lear. It could be Edmund and Gloucester. It could be Edgar and Gloucester. It could be a Kent figure and Lear. It could be the fool figure and Lear. But thinking on the parent-child dynamics of this play, discuss what about the relationship between the older generation and the younger generation renders the play itself to be deeply problematic in terms of generational shifts. To clarify, think about the relationships of parent and child in the context of generations, in the context of the handing of the baton from the past or the present to the future, and what that means in a play where the future does not exist or is not allowed to exist as we understand it. So what happens to a parent-child relationship and our understanding of the parent-child relationship when the children of one set are completely taken out, and the relationship of the past and the present to the future is left aborted. I shall write a little blurb in the comment sections following this lecture to clarify the question, but I want essentially for you to think about the role of parents and children and their relationship when in the play the future is stripped from us. If children represent the future, what happens to a parent-child relationship when there is no future? That is the question, right? And because I have talked about Goneril and Regan and Lear, I want you to concentrate on the other people remaining in the parent-child dynamic, right? So that is the quiz. I'm sorry the lecture at the end, this particular lecture has kind of hurried along, but I'm also sorry that there were so many of them. I was doing a sort of show and tell to explain my point. Perhaps I didn't need to be as lengthy as I was, and for that I apologize. But I will hope to hear from you in response to this. Your lectures, your quiz could take the form of a video, which I encourage, and then you will see how difficult it is to set up a 15-minute response, unless you write it all out in the beginning. But you can do either that, or you can submit your response in writing, either on Facebook or on Moodle. The videos of the lecture are available on both Moodle and on Facebook, and I will see them there. Please submit your quiz a week from now or by the end of the day on Tuesday, November 20th, right? Of course, early submissions are welcome, but please submit by November 20th. Thank you for your time, your attention. I will see you in class on on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. Bye.